Hi, I'm Anthony for Cindy Backyard Veggies. I'm just over here at my north facing beds. During the week I planted out my first planting of broad beans in this patch, and on today's video I just wanted to go through how I planted them out. Now, I generally like to plant my broad beans earlier in the season, in early autumn, around March, April. But time did get a bit away from me, so I've come and planted them in this spot. Now, the key I find to planting good, getting a good germination on your broad bean seedlings is to pre-soak your seeds. I've soaked these seeds for a couple of hours, up to 8 hours, and that helps really start off the germination. Now, before I planted out this bed, I did put out a good barrel load of homemade compost, which consists of horse manure and chicken run collections. I've dug that into the bed, but then I've also added a good handful of dolomite lime. Sweetens the soil and adds that little bit of calcium, which really helps the seedlings, especially in that kind of sweeter soil that they prefer. So once that's been dug, I've gone through and set out my rows in this patch, and I set them out in the spacings of 40 centimeters between the rows, and using the back of my rake I've set those rows out. So we're going to go now back to a week ago when I was planting out this bed, and I'll show you how I planted out the rows. So I've just set out those rows, and you can see behind me I've got the 4 rows spaced out at, for the width of the bed, it's about more like 30 to 40 centimeters apart. Now, the key that I find to planting any large size seeds like peas or beans is to actually water the trench first. Really soak that trench and then plant the seeds into the trench once it's wet. Find that's the best way in my context, to make sure you get a good germination of seeds. So what I'm going to do is come through, fill up each of these trenches, let the water soak in, and then I'll come through and plant my seeds. To plant out the seeds, I'm looking at planting them at 30 centimeter spacing. So going from that previous seed I planted there, about 30 centimeters here, and then another centimeters away. Now, I try not to make the hole too deep, probably twice the depth of the actual depth of the seed. Now, putting one seed in each of the holes, and then what I like to use is vermiculite. I've got plenty of vermiculite available at my place, so I like to use this to cover all my direct seeded beds. So just put in a little bit in each of the holes, and then I'm done. So I'm going to continue planting the rest of these seeds, and I'll show you the final result. Starting to get a bit dark in my backyard, but I just wanted to show you the final planting that I've finished. So I've planted the 4 rows, and I've covered the seeds in vermiculite, and now these should be right as they are now. They won't get watered until they germinate, and I should expect them to germinate in 8 to 10 days time, after which I'll install the irrigation lines onto them and potentially give them their first round of nitrogen fertilizer just at that start, just to get them going. Harvest time, I'm looking at harvesting in early spring, so September, October, but let's hope they do okay. I'm going to add a little bit of cat protection now, just to stop the cat from using this place as a toilet, and I'll keep you updated on how they produce and how they go. I'm over in my west facing garden bed this afternoon. This is where I had last season's tomatoes planted, and now is the time for me to plant in my next planting of sugar snap peas. Now, I have been raising these seedlings over the last 4 weeks, and now at that stage where they need to go into the ground today. It's any larger than this and they'll start dropping off in quality, so I need to get these planted. What I have done over at the site where I'm going to plant it, I've dug it over and broken up the clogs, but I'm going to be adding dolomite lime to the spot where I'm going to be planting the peas. I find that peas do like a more sweeter soil, so this will sweeten that soil. I'll add it to the top layer of the bed and just with the hoe dig it into top layer, and then I'll be ready to plant out my seedlings. In planting out the peas, I like to plant them in double rows along the far side of this garden bed. That way they don't shadow across the rest of the patch. And what I'm going to be doing is just straightening out this bed and then forming up my double row, opening the patch, and I'll just do this across the length of the bed. In planting our seedlings, as I've done in previous videos, I'm going to be using the back of my trowel, and I'm going to be locating 2 rows of seedlings, and I'm going to be spacing them, say, at about 10 centimeters apart. So 10 centimeters apart in the row and 10 centimeters apart adjacent to each other, so you get that nice distance between each of the seedlings. And then just coming across, and I'm just using the back of the trowel, just setting out those planting positions. I'm grabbing one of the seedlings. It's a seedling I've got on. I'm just going to put them straight in a hole and backfill them with the soil. I'm going to continue down the row. I've probably got in the order of 60 seedlings here, so I'll be progressively planting what I can, and if I have a little bit more extra space at the end of the row, I will plant additional seedlings at a later date. I'll raise some more seedlings and plant them. Now, I am raising seedlings at the moment as opposed to direct seeding, because now that we're in May, the weather does get a bit too cold to get proper germination. So I find that you germinate seedlings and they are easier to plant out. Just going to plant these seedlings out, grab a few other seedlings. Just want to show you what the seedling looks like, and they look amazing. Really nice root ball there, and they plant out quite readily, especially if you give them a little bit of water and a bit of sun. They do come up really well. You just got to be careful when you pull them out of the tray that the tendrils aren't connected into each other, because they will rip, but that's no problem. So I just finished planting off that row of peas, and I'll give them more water, and they should settle in for the afternoon. I do need to install a trellis system, a string trellis system for these now, because over the next few days I'm expecting to start putting on a bit of length, and I will do that in this afternoon. And I will come through and give them their first round of nitrogen in about a week's time. Nitrogen fertilizer, they do need it, especially at this age, to really get them going. I'm actually going to show you now just my other, my first planting of sugar snap peas, and this is what I've got over here. And these were planted in March, and these ones were direct seeded, and I've had to replant some of the plants because the big rains came through and killed a lot of them off. So I've planted those out, and I'll show you how they're going, but they will be given some fertilizer now to really get them going. But I'll come bring you closer to show you how this this planting looks at the moment. So this is my first planting of sugar snap peas, and I've got close to maybe 2.5 meters worth of linear meters worth of plantings. So this is that first round that came up really well. A lot of it did die with the big rains, a lot of it rotted in the ground, but most of them did germinate, and these are doing quite well, and these will keep going. This variety is Yates sugar snap, and these will grow taller than the post. So what I have been doing is adding the string trellis, the baling twine, to really hold them in place. And I tend to keep, if you can just see that, I'm actually adding it to the front of the beans to keep them up against the trellis, because they do tend to lean towards the sun, which on the northern side, which is just up here. I have had to replant some of the seedlings, and that's what I've done here, but these guys need a little bit of nitrogen fertilizer now, so I'm going to get some liquid fertilizer, just give it a light water in, and I think that should be enough it for it. These guys will start growing pretty fast now, and they should climb up onto this trellis system. I'm over at my first cauliflower patch, and I'm about halfway through the harvest of these plants, but I'm going to harvest a few heads today. But before I do that, I just want to show you a few things that's unique to the variety that I'm planting at the moment. I'm having a lot of questions about whether what I do to make sure that my cauliflower heads stay white and not get impacted by the sun. And the variety I have here is actually what they call a self-wrapping variety. So I'll quickly show you what I'm talking about, and I'll just bring you up closer. So this was my first planting, and I had about 27 plants in this spot, and I've been going very aggressively working through them. But when I say that they're self-wrapping, you can see there's a great head there. This one's probably about 2 days away, 2 to 3 days away from being harvested, but the plants, the leaves themselves actually stay upright and keep the head, the cauliflower head, quite sheltered and covered, shaded. So that means that it doesn't get as much impact on the sun, so generally they stay quite white. And even this one here, where it is quite exposed, the structure of the leaves really keep it covered. So really happy with how white and how clean they look. Now I'm going to harvest, probably still got 2 or 3 left to harvest here. I'm going to harvest this one as well. This is another one that's self-shading, self-covering. There you go. I'm going to harvest a few, and I'll take you over to my second plant. I've got a few there I need to harvest as well. And again, over at my second plant, this one here has got a little bit of a light to it. I've been meaning to harvest this during the week, just never had the time. Should have been harvested about 2 days ago. You can see there's a little bit of a pink tinge, but that's no big deal. But that's going to get harvested as well. And I might progressively work through some of these little heads. And broccoli. These ones need to be harvested as well. So, quick harvest this morning, and I will show you what I end up with. Finished harvesting all those broccoli and cauliflower. There's my harvest. We're in the middle of brassica season now, so I'm just glad to be able to harvest this kind of haul every few days. So our family is eating a lot of cauliflower at the moment, so, and family and friends are getting the rest that we can't get through during the week. Now that the second planting is ready to be harvested, I'll be cleaning that bed in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to be planting more coriander there, and probably a little bit more peas in that spot. So take these inside, give them a nice little wash, and they'll go straight in the fridge. So I'm really happy with how the garden is running at the moment, and looking forward to planting a few more brassicas out in the patch. Thank you very much everyone for joining me in this video. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you in the next one.